In today's podcast, we're going to be talking about the secret to being absolutely irresistible to men. And no, it has nothing to do with your physical appearance, boob butt, nothing to do with any of that, because at the end of the day, that is not what really makes you irresistible to men. It's all in being able to radiate a certain type of confidence that is truly rooted in what we consider to be self-worth. It's not that bravado confidence, right, Gary? It's in knowing in your deepest core that you provide a lot of value to the world, to relationships, and to others. So, Gary, I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, it's like a quiet confidence, self-assuredness, we would say, in psychology. It's really the complete opposite. This is really, in very many ways, a follow-up episode to one that we did previously where we were talking about, how sometimes you're attracting men based on your wounds. So if you haven't tuned into that podcast, you might want to check that one out first, because today is really the solution. This is the opposite. And we know from the last episode about wounds that it really resonated. It kind of hit home. It hit some pain points, I think. It tugged on some heartstrings, maybe. It was one of those things that really landed in a way. And because we went so deep onto the wounds, we didn't do what we usually do, which is provide a bunch of solutions on the same podcast. But we're doing that today. And so today's really about being a little bit more proactive, taking control of your love life, and really not emphasizing the outside exterior, maybe. And then really focusing on, who you are as a person, your self-worth, and really getting it done that way.
Definitely. We've both been coaches and in the relationship space for a long time. And I remember when I first became a coach, I would start working with someone. I noticed something would happen the moment a client would sign on with me. And it was almost like they went from this mode of being a victim to suddenly just being proactive. And nothing has changed in their love life at that point. It's like session number 1 where we start working together and developing a plan. They start showing up with a new level of energy, of confidence, of excitement, of hopefulness. Like they're ready to rock and roll. It's almost like no longer are they going to blame all the scenarios in their life, everything that's happened. They're just like, I'm going to take ownership of this and move forward. And that in itself starts to build a lot of confidence. It's wild. It's like the moment they sign on and start working with us. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's like all of a sudden, everything else seems possible. Like a lot of things that seemed hard and difficult and impossible and you don't know where to start, all of a sudden when you have that toehold, that starting point, it really clicks in, right? And I think it's not about blaming yourself, but it's about taking responsibility. Even if some of the stuff that happened to you, it's not your fault. You didn't ask for this. And life sucks and is unfair a lot of times that way. But I think, I don't know, it's like part of adulting. Like you take responsibility for stuff, even if it wasn't your fault. You're not to blame, but nonetheless, you're still responsible. And there's something just, for me personally, I find incredibly empowering about that. It's like, it doesn't matter what happened. Like I always have a move. There's always a move I can make. There's always a different way I can look at things. There's some strategy, some intentionality I can bring to the situation that's, I don't know, it just makes me feel better because I feel a little bit more agentic. Like I have some control. I don't know. Maybe that says something more about me, but I like that idea. I like that feeling.
No, it's 100% true. I mean, you see it with any area. Like I know a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners who they want to blame everything in the world as to why their business isn't succeeding. They want to blame the economy. They want to blame the president, you name it. And it's like, yeah, some of that might be true, but is that helpful?
No, that's exactly the right question.
Wait, true, but it's who got it, dude? Or, women, like, well, how are you going to actually make it happen? Or like, I have some friends who they just can't lose weight because they're like, oh, that's my body type. And they're trying. It's like, what if you just took 100% ownership of everything you put in your body? Right. The same thing with dating, that we really look, can certain circumstances make it more difficult to find love? Of course. Have you been through a terrible marriage where perhaps he's cheating on you and God, you just couldn't even have seen it? Yeah. But the best thing we can do is just take ownership of the decisions we made in our love life so that now we're 100% in the power mode. And that's what builds confidence. What kills confidence is thinking that the world is conspiring to against you, right? They're all against me. I don't want the confidence in any of my life. I'm just I can't do anything about it. So, meh. Yeah.
I don't know. Was that our first sound effect on the podcast? Well, I think this is a really nice segue into a quick refresher about what we were talking about by wounds versus worth, because so much of this taking responsibility aspect is it doesn't matter what happened. It wasn't your fault. You're not to blame, but we are responsible. And a lot of those things are wounds. And wounds are those emotional or psychological injuries, usually rooted in past experiences. It could be parental, a father figure, perhaps. It could be previous relationships. And that these things affect how you behave, connect, and respond in romantic situations going forward, right? And so we just have to know that these things exist. And in the previous podcast, the key realization that I really want everybody to walk away with is sometimes the most magnetic connection you have isn't to the person. It's not to the guy. It actually has almost nothing to do with him, but it has to do with your connection to an old emotional pattern. Those wounds they leave a legacy in not a good way. Contrast that with what we're talking about today, which is attracting men from a place of self-worth. This is where you're being authentic and genuine with who you are, putting forward your values, your desires, actually saying what you want, being clear about your boundaries, having a sense of self-respect and the sense that you are enough and that it's the right guy that will appreciate those things. You're not going to mold and shape yourself for those guys. It's all about healthy boundaries and self-love. That's all about worth.
Yeah, I had a client about 6 months ago. You'll know who this is, but we won't mention names. She started working with us, and very quickly as she was following our steps, she noticed that she was actually repelling a lot of men. She was saying no to a lot of men. She had to cut off a situationship with a guy who's kind of a casual relationship. And I remember about a month in, she's like, Adam, I've got nothing going for me. Like, where are all the guys, right? Like, what's happening? And it's such a weird moment. And talk about great marketing, but let me finish this. It's like she got to a point where she was repelling so many of the wrong guys that suddenly she was opening herself up and she's becoming available to the right types of guys. And this is the moment that I will say to clients, it's usually about 2 weeks to 3 weeks of working with us. It's working. Mm-hmm. It's working. You just don't know it yet. You haven't experienced it yet because none of those guys were right for us. We had to cleanse ourselves of the demons a little bit. We had to get rid of the demons. And then suddenly she made a massive shift of focusing on attracting men through worth. And then she started attracting much higher quality, not just quantity, but quality men, because suddenly she had a different lens in which she was working for. She had enough emotional space for those guys. And now she is in the best relationship of her life. They're getting ready to move in together. It's incredible. All because she was able to cut off the wrong guys and start dating in a way where she was looking for, the right types of guys based on her worth.
I love that you're saying this because it is like with the one thing that we never get credit for. In all this dating coaching and helping people, it's those first couple weeks, it gets a little tough and people, like you said, are repelling guys and things aren't working out and guys aren't returning messages or not reaching out. But it's like, you know what we don't get credit for? All of the bad relationships that we prevent people from even starting in the first place. So it's like when these, I almost said a bad word, but these jerk guys are reaching out to you, or you're seeing these jerk guys for what they are and just like, yeah, no, not even going to entertain it. Next. And it can feel like this isn't working. I'm not making progress. But like, imagine what your life would have been like if you would have wasted 3 months with this jerk guy, or worse, 3 years or 30 years. Like it's such an important thing to avoid those bad relationships. And that usually happens first, getting rid of some of these bad patterns, not dealing with the wounds, not attracting from the wounds. And it's like, I don't know, people never see all the bad relationships that they don't start, but it's something like from doing this over the years, it's like, I can see it. I can see the progress where like, yeah, this guy said this thing and I said, no. And I'm always like, wait, you do realize that a month ago, you would have been dating that guy, that same guy, you would have been dating him just because he had a cool mustache, right? Like that would have been a problem.
You would have wasted a decade of hell with this mustache guy. Okay, the mustache is pretty cool. I get it. But other than that, He treats you like crap. He's the wrong type of guy. He's not investing in you. And you just saved yourself that energy. And then suddenly now you're available for the guy. He might not have a mustache, but damn, is he big? Oh my God. I got to get a mustache, Gary. I've been thinking about that. What do you think, dude?
I'm going to go solidly no.
Bad for the brand?
I think, no, I don't know. The mustache, little mustache. I don't know.
A Billy goatee?
You never know. Like, it might work, but I think you run the risk with a mustache. There's a creepy mustache look.
I run the risk of my wife divorcing me.
I mean, that too, but the creepy mustache look, it's tough.
All right, let's jump into how to track guy based on worth, guys that don't have mustaches.
Okay. So much of this is we cleared out the possibility of spending time with the wrong guys. Let's spend time with the right guys. But you have to do this from a solid foundation. And so that starts with number one, relationships aren't the antidote. If life isn't going well, if you're not feeling complete, you don't feel like things are right, mixing in a partner to help fill in what's missing is only going to make things worse. It's like pouring gas on a fire. So much of what I see with clients, and it's just an important reminder, broken attracts broken. And so if you're not full and complete, why would you be able to attract a guy who's full, complete, and also able to fix you? Like, that's a really tall order. And I'll tell you something, and maybe this is a ding on guys, but men aren't looking for fixer-uppers. Men aren't looking for charity cases. Men kind of know that they're in no position to help you become a fuller, better person, I think, in general. It's not necessarily a guy move. And so if you're looking for guys to be the solution to the problem, I think you're just going to end up with more problems. I think it's also, the thing is, like, if you go forward with this approach of being broken, so then who is going to be attracted to you? Well, it's going to be men who like broken women. It's going to be men who are attracted to broken women. And so why are they attracted to broken women? Well, because they like power and control. They like owning the relationship. They like doing whatever they want without any repercussions. And that's a problem. We don't want those guys. And so it's something, I say a lot of masterminds a lot is you have to be the right person to attract the right person. And it's why in the Little Love Steps and also in our Relationship Synergy program, the first step is always laying the foundation. Like fostering that deep sense of self-understanding, appreciation, assuredness, confidence, clarity, all of that it's frankly why I'm at this company, is because so much of my research over the years, 20 years, has been on how does who you are as a person impact your relationships. And let me tell you, the Cliff Notes version is a lot. Like a lot. Like it just, they're so intertwined that, getting yourself right first before you get in a relationship is absolutely critical.
And it's totally doable. I mean, that's what Little Love Step number 1 is all about, is learning how to radiate that feminine confidence. And that can be done before you even start dating. I mean, just as a small example, we have many ways of doing that. But one small example is just taking a look at your platonic relationships. Like, how are you showing up in your platonic relationships? I've worked with clients, men and women, both, who their friendships or familial relationships are all complete disaster, ridden with conflict and just challenging dynamics. Yet the partner that they want to attract has to be perfect and has no conflict and doesn't match that type of energy. And the reality is, if all of the relationships in your life are a complete disaster, then we can't expect that our romantic relationships are going to suddenly be magical and perfect. And so we can start by practicing a lot of these communication skills just with friends, just with family. How are we showing up in those relationships? How are we choosing those relationships? That's just one small example of like some tactical things that you can do to start being the right person to attract the right person, and there's many others. But the reality is you got to work on this first before you just dive in, because like you said, kind of the cycle will just repeat, right? You'll just attract the wrong types of guys.
For sure. Yeah, and I think, this dovetails really nicely into number 2, which is an Adam LaDolce special. The quote, be the chooser, not a chaser, right? So it's all mindset. It's how you're going into this. It's you want to partner. it's not that you need a partner. You don't have this like deep need, like I'm incomplete. I can't quite do it without somebody. It's like, no, I want someone to share my life with. And it's really the difference of operating from abundance instead of scarcity, that there's going to be plenty of options. There's going to be plenty of opportunities. I don't need to chase these things down. I don't need to hold on to the one guy who shows interest as if he's the only man on the planet who would possibly find me interesting. It's just the wrong approach. And so it's this idea of like, if it doesn't work out with him, it's going to work out with somebody else because he is not the magic part. I am. And so I say this to clients all the time on masterminds. It's like, is he going to text back? Is he not? I heard things went well, but I haven't heard from him. It's been 12 hours. I don't know what's going on. And I always say the same thing. It's like, it's just a matter of, is he going to be smart enough to realize the amazing opportunity that's in front of him? And if he's not smart enough to realize the amazing, do we really want to be with a guy who's not smart enough to see how great this opportunity is? It's like, no, because there will be another guy who gets it, who sees this and is like amazed, like, yes, I want in. And so you're trying to see if he fits. You're not applying for a role in his life story, right? And how you feel about yourself should not depend on how other people feel about you. It comes from you first.
And by the very fact that you're not chasing him in that moment and our clients are not taking that small step that a lot of people will make, which is, I'm just going to text him and check in with him. Just because they're not doing that, it's actually going to attract that guy to kind of close the gap if he's the right guy for you and want to pursue. So that's why, like, whenever I used to be working with clients and they would ask me like, Adam, what are signs that a guy likes me? Or how can I impress a guy to get his attention? I would always just be like, wrong question. It's just the wrong question to be asking because that's coming from a place of chaser energy. Okay, good. I want guys to be asking that question. Like, how do I get a girl to like me? Does she like me? How can I impress her? Great. I work with men on that. I used to work with men on that before I worked with women. Fantastic. Guys are naturally in the pursuer state. That is the natural order of things. The women, and I know this sounds like very 1950s, but it really is what is going to build a lot of attraction in the connection is you kind of sitting back. You were like the queen sitting on her throne, deciding if he is right to sit next to you. All right. You are the chooser, not the chaser. And when you fully embody this, then suddenly those questions, you don't ask those questions anymore. You don't even go on masterminds and be like, oh my God, I haven't heard back from him in a day. Like, what do I do to bring him back? It's like, again, wrong question to be asking. We're not going to lean into that type of energy. We'll just move in a different direction and see if this guy starts chasing after you, my beautiful lady.
Yeah, and I think some of it's the questions you're asking yourself. I think so often women approach dating from this perspective, particularly on a first date. Does he like me? Did I impress him enough? Is he impressed? How should I get his attention? And again, it's just, that's a chasing way to approach it. Instead, ask yourself, do I like how he's showing up? Is he impressing me? And the best question is he good for me? Is by far the more important question than does he like me? Who cares if he likes you? If he's not good for you, who cares if he likes you? And I think that's the problem is like a lot of times people get enamored with attention and they forget about connection. And there's a big difference there.
Definitely. Which leads us well to the third point, which is I want you to kind of like mirror his energy a little bit, but don't manufacture any type of connection. Like basically never invest more in a man than he's investing in you. Don't give him more than he's giving you. All right. So if he's texting short or like really slow, yeah, of course you can match it. Maybe a little, we call it the match minus principle. You can match it minus a little bit. And this isn't done to be, some type of game or manipulative. It's just, you're going to be so busy talking to other people, having a lot of affection thrown at you by different types of men that you're not going to have time to just be texting one guy who you're not exclusive with yet all day long. We're definitely not going to do that. The big idea here is we don't want to force a connection. We want it to like reveal itself. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you'd rather figure that out pretty quickly. So that's the goal with all this is we just want some clarity. And honestly, the best way to lean into this process is by, I've mentioned it a few times in here, so I want to give you all a resource. It's by following what we call the 7 little love steps. And these steps are designed to help you navigate the dating journey from a place of power, not a place of chasing. All right. So everything I've discussed so far, where we're going to be talking to multiple guys at the same time, we're going to radiate our feminine energy. All of this is kind of like enveloped into this 7-step strategy. So if you want to learn that strategy, we have a free training. It's completely free. Just go to littlelovesteps.com. You can be able to go through that training. It's, I think that's a really interactive training. I'm pretty sure that's the one there. And you're not going to want to miss that. Again, that's littlelovesteps.com. Gary, take us to the fourth one, please.
Yeah. So to be irresistible and attract guys from self-worth, number 4 is connection, not credentials, warmth, not work. If there's a subset of clients that is our like bread and butter go-to specialty, it's high-level successful women who are finding that their career and success might be getting in the way of dating a little bit. And so recently at our live event, I did a very long, like an hour plus presentation on this idea that women afterwards are like, were you following me around? Was this about me? Oh my gosh, this got me like so dead on. And so I boiled this down into like a very short bit for this, but I think it's really important because how do you feel when you're on a first date with a guy and he's talking about all of his accomplishments and what he does at work and how impressive he is and all these things? What do you honestly think? And what you honestly think is...
I don't like him.
I don't like him.
Why are you asking me, Gary? Because I don't
like him either.
Hate really. Guy, but
it's like, it's boring. You don't like him. It sounds a little self-absorbed, narcissistic. And I also think it screams insecure because you're trying to impress me with a bunch of facts I could learn on LinkedIn. I don't need that. That's not what I'm here for. And the research shows success doesn't convey warmth, right? And especially, and this is unfair, but that's especially true for women. And so you don't want to try to connect with a guy through your successes, your work, any of that, because you're going to try to impress him in a way that he's not going to be impressed by. Now, he will value that stuff later. It's just not the thing to lead with.
Gary,
right?
And I have a question. I don't mean to throw you off. Yeah, I want to just lean into this idea about success doesn't convey warmth. I just have a question for you. Sorry, I don't mean to pull your vibe here.
No.
Do you think, and I don't know how well you know this research, but like if someone is really, really successful and they're really, really warm, I feel like that makes them even 100 times warmer. It's like if you ever meet a CEO or a really important person and they're extremely warm and kind to you and not talking about their accomplishments, I like them even more than just a regular person who's really warm. You know, I feel like there's like an extra bonus where because we expect really successful people to be cold. You know, right? You expect the politician to be like a little bit like cold to a degree. I mean, some politicians, some can fake it, but if they're like authentically warm and kind and caring, you're like, whoa, this is very different. I don't know if you've ever seen anything like that, but I was just thinking about it.
I think in real life, you get bonus points for being rare, and it's a rare combination. It's like, you know, when you find out somebody's in computer science and math and you're talking to them at a party and they're really good at conversation. Like, Gary.
And they're really cool.
Shout out to my colleagues in the computer science and math departments. No, but seriously, it's just like there's certain areas that it's just, wow, this is incongruent. Like there's just, and it's like, wow, you're warm. I think the other piece with that is someone who's highly accomplished, successful, and warm. It's about order of presentation. Lead with the warmth, because then the success is actually more impressive later on, because there's something about revealed success that you don't lead with and like broadcast to the world. Someone, you know, when your partner has to kind of dig it out, find it a little bit, you get bonus points for that too, where it's like, you didn't lead with the fact that you were a top 10 salesman for the last 10 years. I had to find that out on date 3. Like, oh, you are pretty secure. Like that just gives you like a sense of like, wow, you have a lot more going on if you don't have to give your greatest hits all right up front.
Definitely. And I don't know if you experience this, Gary, but just by the nature of what we do, it's so weird when you have to tell new people what you do for a living. But like, I don't know if you're like me. I'm assuming you are, where you just kind of keep it pretty quiet. But I remember like I went golfing with this guy last week. It was for some like wedding event that I was a part of. And we repaired up for the entire day. We never talked about what I did, and it just never came up. And then like the final hole, he's like, "Oh, by the way, like what do you do?" I'm like, "Oh, I coach women on how to find long-lasting love." And he's like, "What?" And it was a moment like that. It's not about the success or anything. Just by what we do is just so weird and out there. But it definitely like, I don't know, it carries a next level of like, what? I feel like I know these other parts of you. And if the point is, if I had led with that, it would have changed the entire dynamic of the conversation up until that point. It like allowed us to connect first and then have that moment, then the opposite.
It's such a great example, because you revealing that at first would have changed and instead he just gets to be like, "Oh, this guy's cool. I mean, he could be better at golf, but he's pretty cool."
This guy's a loser and that's how he golf. But he does help them in their love life. God.
That's not even fair. I don't even know if you're good at golf or not. So apologies if you're actually really good.
I'm like a 6 out of 10. Okay. And not getting better. I should be better.
People always ask, like, they assume I golf, and like, I don't have the time. Like, and it's like one of those things, like, I know myself, I would have to get good at it, and that would take some time, and I need to devote my time to other things at the moment.
Gary, when I get you to move to Boston, which you're not chipping away at, I'll get you into golf.
We'll start golfing, and maybe someday I can aspire to be a 6 out of 10 as well.
Hey man, if I'm coaching on how to golf, you could be like definitely at least a 5 out of 10.
Perfect. Well, sold. But I think with all of this stuff and credentials and, how do you date them? Because it's such a tough thing, because it's almost always one of the first questions that people ask in a dating context. Like, "Oh, so what do you do?" I think what you do, and what I suggested at our event, is you just breeze by that and say, "Oh, I be very vague in general about it," and then change the conversation. Get in the habit of asking 2 questions for every one statement. Be curious. Guys' biggest fear on a first date is silence. That's why they talk about work so much, because it's a well-known topic and they can talk about it forever. But as long as you're asking questions and keeping things interesting, he's not going to need to talk about work. And so, ask some captivating questions. I'm not going to give a ton of these. I'm just going to give 2, because we've talked about this on some previous podcasts. But, ask things like, 5 years from now, what would a typical Wednesday look like for you? He never gets asked that. No one asks that kind of question. They ask, like, what's your perfect day? And you make it clear that that's not what you're at. Like, what's a boring, typical Wednesday look like for you 5 years from now? Another great question I love is something along the lines of, like, what's your most underrated quality? Good stuff, right? And it's like, that's infinitely more interesting. You're going to bond with someone much more over those things. You're going to convey a sense of warmth over those types of questions infinitely more than your success. This is not to diminish your success or dim your light of accomplishment in any way. You'll get to all that. You just, not for a while.
Definitely. Which leads us to the final one, which I'll keep short, but I want this to be very pointed. And that is sharing your standards confidently. And if you are coming from a place of deep self-worth, you see yourself in a certain lens in which you deserve the best of the best, then guess what? This will be easy to do. If you don't necessarily believe it in your core that you truly deserve the right type of relationship, the right type of man in your life, then it's going to be almost impossible for you to actually set any real standards. In fact, you'll be drawn to guys who you shouldn't be drawn to, who will be just a plague on your life for the next 10 years because, again, you haven't recognized what it is that you truly can offer in a relationship. So make it really clear what it is you're looking for. And it's not about being like demanding or entitled. Like, share them in a very matter-of-fact way where your standards just feel obvious and like basically self-evident, right? Drop lines like, I love guys who follow through. It's really rare. Or I love guys who hold the door for me. Coaching these guys on the things that you really like. I was coaching a client recently who really wanted to inspire some masculinity in her guy because she went to an event and she really wanted, him to talk to the DJ to change the song, but he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it, and she didn't want to sound really controlling. I know there's a very specific moment. So I coached her next time, just be like, I really love it when you take charge of situations. Like, coach him in that moment. I find it really attractive when you do that, right? Or, back to the standards piece, like, I'm at the point where I'm looking for something real. Or the sexiest guys are the ones who can be vulnerable and are great communicators. Like, all of these are setting your standards of what's really acceptable for you in your relationships. These can be subtle, but they can also be incredibly empowering. So I recommend going through this process. What we want for you is to be able to really get out there and recognize that you have so much to offer. We work with clients in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s and beyond. And a lot of times when we're dating a little bit later in life, we start to forget that you have so much to offer these incredible guys. You really do. And once you can recognize that, boom, that everything starts to change. So if you're really ready to make a change in your love life, we'd love to be able to walk with you. I have a team of what we call love strategists who are ready to speak with you to see whether or not we can really guide you in your love life. It's by application only. Not everyone's going to be accepted for these conversations, but if you are, jump on that session. Let's see whether or not our process with the little love steps and love accelerators right for you. If that sounds like you, head on over to loveapply.com. It sends you straight to the application. You can jump on that. If you're able to book a call, jump on it because we have a limited number of spots. And we can't wait to be able to walk with you on your journey to love. Gary, this was such a good one. You're the man.
I'm still stuck. I got to tell you, I've just been thinking this whole time about this poor guy in the middle of a wedding having to go up to the DJ stand and be like, excuse me, can we please cut the electric slide short because my date does not want to slide electrically anymore?
He doesn't
please.
like that song.
And then immediately the DJ is just like, okay, pal. And then he cuts to, Macarena. And then it just goes from bad to worse. So
His girlfriend says I need to be more masculine. And
no more electric slide, por favor. Thank you.
Oh, God. On that note, loveapply.com, ladies. We can't wait to speak to you. And Gary, that was a lot of fun. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Adam.